And welcome back to SWBA Today. And in today's episode, we are doing previews for the Eastern and the Western Conference play-in games. And so we're going to start with the early game. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies. And so let's go ahead and jump into that early game, the Hawks versus the Magic. And look, I like the Orlando Magic in this game. I like them for two reasons. And I think it's going to be defense. And I also think it's the fact that this Orlando Magic team, they've actually been there before. And so we're going to talk about that here in a moment. But first, I'll say this about this game. Between the two teams, you really throw the home court advantage out because each team has won on the other team's home court. In this particular game, you have the Atlanta Hawks there visiting the Orlando Magic. So I don't think that that's necessarily going to be an issue. And I do think it is going to be a tight basketball game because the series has shown us that it has been that way because it's 2-2. You have, both teams winning twice. But I just think with the Orlando Magic and their ability to defend, that's probably going to be the difference, especially when it comes down to a playoff type of game. So all this on SportsIllustrated.com, and it is saying that the Orlando Magic are actually second in the league as far as turnovers are concerned, or generating turnovers. They have a 16.9 turnover percentage. Meanwhile, you got the Atlanta Hawks. They're near the bottom in turnovers, ranking 22nd on offense with a 15% turnover percentage. And look, this is going to be very interesting in this game because the Hawks, they averaged 14.3 turnovers per game in the season. And they had games against the Orlando Magic where they had an 18 turnover game and they had a 16 turnover game. And so Orlando defensively is going to cause some chaos for the Atlanta Hawks. And I think that that's going to be very difficult for the Hawks to overcome. And I think that if the game is slowing down, much like a playoff series, that favors the Orlando Magic because they're going to take those possessions and they're going to kind of grind the Hawks down. I think that that's what happens in playoff basketball. Those possessions kind of go down and it comes down to the team that's a better executing team. And the Orlando Magic, I think when it comes down to putting them in the half court set, they're terrific at that. And so I think that the turnovers kind of really, it sways towards their playing style. They want to turn you over. They want to get into the half court and they will kind of want to wear you out that way. And so I like the Orlando Magic because of that. And then next, with the Orlando Magic, I think that because they've been in a 7-game series with the Cleveland Cavaliers last season, I like them in this particular game to advance because it's the same team. They do have KCP over from the Denver Nuggets, who has been an SWBA champion. And I think that that is going to help this team, especially since they don't have Jalen Suggs, who is one of their better defenders, but they still got a ton of young pieces. They're coached well. I think they're going to execute. And I think that their experience and having been, that far last season, I think it's going to help them in this type of situation. And make no mistake about it. Look, the Hawks have been there before too. I talked about this in yesterday's show where they're tied with the Lakers and the Pelicans for some of the most wins in the play-in situation in the 5-year existence of the play-in tournament. But still, I just think that ultimately the experience factor goes to the Orlando Magic, and they have to, talking about the Hawks, they have to depend a lot on their wing players. They really have to depend a lot on a Karis LeVert, Terrence Mann, and then Niang, who are going to be big factors for this team because they have been there respectively with their other teams. Niang has been there with the Cavs and the Jazz. Karis LeVert, he's been there with the Nets at one point, and then also too with the Cavs too, and Terrence Mann with the Clippers, been in some high-level games there. I just don't think that they have enough collectively as a team to beat the Orlando Magic, and so that's why I'm taking the Magic in today's game. And so next up, I wanted to talk about the next game here, and that's going to be the Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies. And so, look, I like the Golden State Warriors in this game, and I think that the first stat that jumps out at me as to why I like the Golden State Warriors is because the Grizzlies this season in 8 trips out west, they are 0-8. And this game is in Golden State. So that is the key number one. This is where the home court advantage is certainly going to play a factor, and it plays out well for the Golden State Warriors. And so that's step one. It's going to be wild out there in Golden State. You know it is. The crowd is going to be into it. Steph, he's going to be doing the shimmies and all that stuff like that. And so, look, it's going to be hype. I think it's going to be tough for the Memphis Grizzlies to really answer that. Next up, I like the Golden State Warriors in this game because of the championship experience. I think that when you look at Jimmy Butler, you look at, Steph, you look at Draymond, like these guys have been there before and they've been very consistent. I think that they've been one of the more consistent teams, especially since they made that trade with Jimmy Butler. And when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, we're looking at the big three right now with them and Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja Morant, and Desmond Bane. These guys are going to have to play at an extremely high level. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to put it all together in this game and be enough to beat the Golden State Warriors. So I like really the big three of the Golden State Warriors more than I like the big three of the Memphis Grizzlies. And that's another reason why I like the Golden State Warriors in this game. And lastly, look, it seems like that there is a ton of confidence coming from Jimmy Butler because this is what Jimmy Butler had to say after their loss to the Los Angeles Clippers. He was saying that, look, we are right where we want to be, talking about how they have an opportunity to control their own fate and they're going to be just fine. And so when you have Jimmy Butler saying this, I think that Draymond Green has kind of echoed this as well, that they're comfortable with this. And like I said, they have a favorable situation with the home court. I think they have a favorable situation with the fact that their players have been there before. Even though Jimmy Butler hasn't won a ring, he's been deep in the SWBA playoffs. And he's also saying that, look, he feels good as well, because if you did watch that Los Angeles Clippers game, one of the things that did happen is he got hit, I think, by Kawhi Leonard driving to the rim. He was kind of limping around, so I guess he took a knee to the thigh. But afterwards, he said he was fine, and he said this as well, that, look, I'll be all right. Go home, play some dominoes, drink some coffee. It'll make it feel better. And so, look, Jimmy Butler feeling healthy. I like the Golden State Warriors for a lot of different reasons here. And they're also 2-3-1 in this series this year. And let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Do you feel like, yes, it is going to be the Golden State Warriors that are going to beat the Memphis Grizzlies in the late game? And then do you feel like, it is going to be the Orlando Magic that take care of the Atlanta Hawks? Or do you feel like it is going to be upsets today? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And as we always say, see the game and be the game. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.